Hello and welcome to Zero to Hero. On this week's episode, we are already laughing. No, on this week's episode, we are going to be talking about Google AdSense, and by we, I mean mostly Matt C., also known as Empty Destroyer, and I am your extremely handsome host that you'll just have to take my word for it, Matthew Cole Inc., also known as Matt M.
All right.
Welcome.
There you go. So for this one, we kind of wanted to jump into how to actually make money online. We realized that the last two episodes we talked more about being an entrepreneur in some of our earlier projects, but for this one, we wanted to talk about AdSense and how to actually make money online. So the easiest way to make money online, in my experience, is through Google AdSense. Google AdSense is if you go onto a blog, pretty much any blog out there, you'll see they have colorful looking ads pasted randomly throughout the site, throughout the content, and throughout the sidebar. And those are AdSense ads. They're maintained by Google, and Google itself pays you for them. So they're very safe and very. It's just a good way to make money, if I'm being honest. And the payout is really big. So let me start by saying, what is your potential payout in using these ads? And the answer is it's very variable based on the type of ad and the advertiser. But I've seen payouts as high as... Sorry, let me take a step back. The way you get paid is it's cost per click, CPC. There's different methods of making money online. They all have acronyms that start with C. This one is CPC, which is cost per click. What that means is that you get paid whenever someone visits your site, sees the ad, and clicks on the ad. The pay rates themselves are variable. I've seen it be as low as 1 penny per click, and I've seen it be as high, actually I've experienced it as high as $7 per click. Which is hilariously awesome considering, someone's just got to see your ad and click on it.
Now, Matt, for the uninitiated, would you mind actually covering for a second the other ways that you might conceptualize getting paid online? So you said CCP?
CPC is cost per click. Yeah.
So that's every time someone clicks, you get paid.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's CPC, there's CPV, which is cost per view. That's really just videos. So that's usually associated with YouTube advertising. We'll get through that later.
So 100,000 people watch your thing. It calculates some amount based on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
CPM is cost per impression. That's a little different because that is no longer a click. That is, well, I'm going to say that's an impression, but I realize how bad that sounds. The point being, an impression is when it gets displayed on someone's website, not necessarily when someone clicks on it. So for example, if you go to Reddit and you see on the top of Reddit, it says sponsored Reddit post, and then you see like that sponsored post right there, that's considered an impression because you saw it on your screen. If you click on it or not, it doesn't matter. That counts as an impression. So if you're paying CPM, if the advertiser is paying CPM,
okay.
They pay for usually 1,000 impressions for whatever maybe they pay 5 cents for 1,000 impressions.
Okay.
Now your turnover rate is usually super low with impressions. You get like a 0.12% turnover rate. So that's like 13 clicks in
out of every 1,000.
Out of every 1,000. You know what I mean?
All right.
So, but it is a lot cheaper, and if you have really viral stuff or really clickbaity stuff, it could be potentially higher. So you could be kind of profiting off of that instead of going your traditional CPC route.
Okay, so there's a little bit of a gamble there that
you pretty much never want to go CPM.
Okay, and maybe unless you're doing like a message that you want people to read, then you don't really care if they're...
Maybe.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, in my experience, I've tried both, and I've never been able to achieve any kind of a success with cost per impression, CPM.
Okay.
So maybe that's a personal thing. Clearly they exist, so maybe someone's benefiting from it somewhere. But as far as CPC goes, which is, again,
cost per click,
and that's Google AdSense. So kind of to sum up in two sentences would be, someone has to go to your website, see this ad that's displayed, click on this ad, and then you get paid something that you don't really know how much it's going to be. It's based on the ad itself and how much that advertiser is paying Google. because in order to understand this, I think I want to take a step towards the Google side of things and just kind of understand how you're getting paid. What happens is the advertiser, let's just say it's company X, Honda or whatever, they pay Google to show their ad to people. And Google says, okay, and then opens it up to all the AdSense advertisers, right? So Honda says, we'll give you $5 for every click that every visitor you bring to our website. And then Google displays that ad on your blog because you've signed an agreement with them. This is all an agreement, and we can talk about how to get yourself set up with AdSense later. But the idea being then when someone goes to your site and clicks on and sees this advertisement for a new Honda and they click on it because they want a new car, Honda is getting a potential sales lead for $5, right? They're going to make a lot of money off of that sale if the person buys a Honda through them. And Google is the middleman, so Google, let's say, takes $1 cut, right? But then you, as the advertiser, gets $4.
Okay.
So that's the idea behind CPC.
Okay, so the click is actually a high turnover.
Yeah, the click itself implies that someone is interested in the content and is probably in the buying mood. You don't click on a Honda car.
Rarely click on anything.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You rarely click on an ad unless you're like, oh, it says Honda cars are on sale 60% off. I'm just looking for a Honda car. You know what I mean? So or there's plenty of examples I could give, but I don't think it's worth it for that point. I think it's kind of self-explanatory. But
so if you're building a website, you pretty much want to, even if you're going to engage in other kinds of monetization, you pretty much want to have ads, some degree of ads. You might want to minimize your ads so that people don't get annoyed. I know we all get annoyed when there's 4 pop-up ads when you're trying to go on a site, but
awful.
Most people I think have sort of accepted that there's a banner ad or do you want to explain banner ads for?
Well, that really just kind of falls into AdSense. AdSense has different types of ads. A banner ad being a long, thin ad, typically up in the banner. The banner being, up in the header or the top of your web page. I've seen banner ads in other locations, but that's kind of why they're called banner ads, is they're usually not too thick, but they're really long and they span the entire page. You can specify on AdSense what kind of ad you're looking to advertise. So you can do like a square ad if that's the space you have to fill with an ad, right? You can do, sometimes banner ads are used in the content themselves because they're unobtrusive because of how thin they are. But really on the advertiser's part, when you go to upload ads, you include it in like 5 different formats. So that advertisees? No. The blog owners can put it different ways and it'll show up different ways.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
All right. So you're going to want to have, and I guess this is going to come down to how you choose to set up your website.
Yeah.
So you may want to put a banner ad at the top, but you also might want to say, you know what, I really want to build the brand, and I want people to focus on the name of my website and my logo, and maybe that top menu bar. So I'm not going to put a banner ad there, but I'll put 2 of them in every article, at the the thirds. So you sort of divide up your article into thirds, and then at 1/3 in and 2/3 in, you put a banner ad.
Yeah.
And I guess what you're saying here to me is that you're gonna want to have at least the code to do several different kinds.
Yeah.
So you can kind of fit them in wherever there's.
Well, yeah. So for the blog owner, for the advertiser, like in this example, Honda, right? They would make 7 different formats of their graphic that they're using for their ad, and that way it can be displayed by the I'm going to say advertisee, essentially the blog owner, right? The person that's actually showing this ad, so that they can put it however you want, wherever you want on your site, wherever it fits. That being said, I do want to note that Google actually uses their super freaky Google spy network to kind of look at your cookies in your browser, your history, and see what you've been searching, and they tailor your AdSense ads to you as the viewer. So that's why if you ever wondered why you're like, oh my God, how did Google know that I was looking at pogo sticks? Like, yeah, like they know that you were looking at pogo sticks, and that's why.
Pogo sticks, Matt. Likely story.
Yeah.
Likely story.
That's how they know, is because they look at the cookies in your browser and your history, because you're probably using a Chrome browser, and they own that. So
when I get that creepy moment, and I'm on, maybe Facebook's not a great example because I assume they have probably their own deal going on. But when I'm on a site and I have that creepy ad that's like, the couch you just looked at 45 minutes ago, that's what's going on here? Yeah. Okay. All right.
They look at your cookies, and then... So a cookie is essentially a line of code that's included in your browser.
That is much less appetizing than I was hoping for.
Yes. You know what? I actually have to take a step back. Your browser itself has a folder somewhere on your computer, and by browser I mean like Google Chrome, right? It has a folder on your computer somewhere that's for temporary files.
But not Internet Explorer. If you're using Internet Explorer, stop what you're doing, and then open up us again somewhere else.
Yeah. But it stores temporary files somewhere, and in those temporary files is these lines of code or text that are called cookies. And cookies just store information about places you've been, and things you visited, your history. The reason why these exist is so that if you've ever wondered, when you go to Amazon, you sign in and then you close your browser, then you open, the next day you open up Google Chrome and you go to Amazon and you're still signed in. That's because there's a cookie in your browser that says is Amazon giving you like a secret passcode almost, and only your browser can see it, and your browser like immediately tells Amazon, hey, look, I was here yesterday and I'm already signed in. Don't make my human sign in again. And that's why cookies are useful. Cookies can also be nefarious, or they can, in the terms of Google, they can just spy on you. But that's essentially, I guess, what a cookie operates for, is used for.
Definitely less appetizing than I was hoping for.
But
I kind of want a cookie now.
Yeah, kind of me too.
Okay.
I'll see how I got in the pantry. But no, the point is Google uses that to tailor your ads to their viewer, and that kind of makes the conversion rate a lot higher. So you really see a pretty good profit if you use AdSense ads on a high traffic site. It's it's the main way of monetizing a lot of blogs.
Well, I mean, I have sort of a whole series of questions here, and in case you can't tell, I am the novice here, and Matt is the expert. So hopefully, I am in your shoes, and Matt is helping to explain the questions that you yourself have.
So something that I really wanted to mention is that you have to be careful when using AdSense with other forms of monetization. AdSense kind of performs like spot checks on blogs and websites that show their ads, and if you have too much spammy advertising and too much spammy monetization, it's within their rights, their terms of service, to just revoke privileges. So you have to just be mindful that Google doesn't really want you to have that alongside 5 other different types of ads, alongside 3 affiliate links, alongside 4 other things. If you combine 2 of them, or it's okay, but you just don't want to go crazy with this. Be tasteful, and Google will be fine with it. But it's just something I really wanted to mention because I've heard a lot of horror stories of people getting screwed over that way.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about that in a later episode. We're gonna do a whole series on internet ethics, or how not to make the internet shitty. That's gonna talk about, if you're running a site or you're running a blog, we definitely understand the desire to make money.
Yeah.
But the internet, in a lot of ways, is a community that all of us use.
Yeah.
And if we stop it from becoming shitty, I think we sort of have an obligation there. But that'll be for a later podcast. Okay. So we'll get there.
You can go through your line of questions if you wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. My first line of questions is, here I am. I have just set up my website, and I have written this wonderful article that everyone will want to read, and I would like people to click on things. How do I get started with Google AdSense?
Okay, so Google AdSense is, I think that's a fair question. Google AdSense is pretty easy to get started with. You're just going to go to, hang on one sec. All right, so just type in AdSense into your browser, and then it'll be the first result. But in order to start, you're going to need to have your Gmail, right? And then some information about yourself. That's fine. If you want to get paid by AdSense, they're legally obligated pretty much anywhere you want to get paid. online, you have to give them like a lot of stuff, like your social security number. You have to fill out an I-9. You have to do a lot of stuff like that. So it's maybe a turn off to some people, but this is, of course, if you're living in the United States, that's just the way legal businesses operate in the United States. You're essentially almost being hired as a contractor in a sense. You are doing Google's work and advertising for them. So, you sign up. I don't actually know if you need to verify with like your social security and all until you want to get paid. You might actually be able to advertise and stuff without verifying your account. And then let's say you have $40 in your AdSense account. I think at that point, if you want to withdraw those funds, then you have to do your I-9 and everything else. It's really not that big of a deal. Everything's self-explanatory. So once you log into AdSense, at the top you'll see like Home, My Ads, Allow and Block Ads, Performance Reports, and Optimization. You can go to My Ads and you can make a new ad unit. At that point you can choose what kind of ad you want. We talked about banners before. It's right there. You can preview it. You can kind of customize it after you click on it and stuff like that. And then you're just going to click Save and Get Code when you're done. And then it's going to come up with basically just a line of code that you're going to copy and paste somewhere onto your site. And then what that does is it's a dynamic piece of code. That means that whenever your website is loaded, whenever someone goes to your website, that script gets loaded and it hits Google and it says, "Hey Google, quick, give me an ad. I got a sucker," right? And then and then it displays it to the person. But it's based on, like I said, their history, their cookies. Google does all that within a couple of seconds.
It's kind of like if you've ever been fishing. When you see your line bob a little bit, even before you know you have a fish, you know you need to pay attention. That's sort of what this is like.
Quick, get the net.
Yeah. I just want to jump back 1 second.
Yeah,
for when you're creating your account, during the actual application process of creating your account, you have to own the website that you're
that's true.
That you're working on. Now, later on, once Google has sort of okayed you and knows that you're, on the level, you can potentially do Google AdSense on other
I forgot about
sites.
That, Matt.
But,
that's true.
Well, that's what I was saying, because Matt's further along in this process in the sense that Matt is an expert at this process. And
no, I've just been using AdSense for 6 years, so I don't remember.
Right, well, that's what I mean. You're an
doing
expert. I'm a noob, but I just thought I'd mention that. So if you're looking to do that, you can go purchase a cheap domain. They're usually less than $10.
Yeah. I suggest going to Hover. I'll put a link in the description. Go to Hover. They have the best deals for it for domain names, and I'll tell you why. It's because when you look at Hover's pricing, they include domain privacy or registration privacy for free, and you pay, I think it's $10 or $11 per year for a .com. Usually,
really? I didn't even know that.
I told you. That's why I wanted you to go through Hover instead of having to go through. So like I used to go through GoDaddy and it costs so much. It ends up being about like $25 for a year. Hover's $11 for the year. Domain privacy is free, and yeah, it's just really good. Just go check out Hover if you want to. Go into the description. I'll include a link.
And let me just say, domain privacy, and we'll talk about this when we go into the website episodes. But domain privacy is huge because you'll end up having to give your email, your address, your phone number, and people will solicit you almost immediately.
Yeah.
So
domain privacy obviously hides all that, and instead you get listed under the information of the company that's hiding you. So like and it's legal. It's not an illegal thing. It's just it's kind of an upsell. But like if you do it at GoDaddy, for example, your domain registration information will say GoDaddy.com with a whole bunch of information there. And if someone really wanted to get in contact with you, like a legal entity, they could go through GoDaddy, and then GoDaddy would be obligated to give them your information if it was a government entity or otherwise. But
yeah, if any of you have ever worked with businesses before, and you have to sort of have a registered agent or something like that, this is similar to that.
Okay. Yeah.
And the other thing I would suggest is when you're making the account, if you don't have a Gmail, get a Gmail and use the Gmail to actually make the account.
That makes a lot of sense. Google's a lot more likely to accept you if you have a Gmail. Now, I will say, if you're making, if you want to apply for this, you definitely need a site first, and I really recommend you having some content on your site. This is coming back to me now. I remember this. I had a blog up I actually got rejected the first time because my website was too new. It only had like one post on it. I would get like 5 or 6 posts on, maybe have your website going for 2 to 3 weeks, maybe even a month before you apply for AdSense. It's not necessarily required to do that, but that might just be best practice. You're not going to get anyone to click on your stuff in the first month anyway. Probably won't get viewers in your first month. But the point is, definitely make your site and put some content on there, and then go ahead and apply, because your chances of being accepted are way higher. So this isn't AdSense, but I did want to note that there's something called Adwords, which is Google's advertiser platform. What that means is that, sure, if you want to show ads and make money, you go to AdSense. Now, if you want to purchase advertising, you go to AdWords. Businesses go to AdWords, and what that is that's where you would fill out, how much you're willing to pay per click. If you want to, what your budget is, when you want to show your ads, what demographic you want to show your ads to, like all that stuff. The advertiser or the business can change in AdWords, and that's where Google pulls all these advertisements from for the AdSense. You also have to note that Google puts a limit of, it used to be 3, I think it's still 3 ads, where you can't have more than 3 AdSense ads on any one page. Like if a viewer goes to a page, there can only be a maximum of 3 AdSense ads on that page. Now I'm pretty sure they'll self-regulate as far as when Google sees that there's 3 ads going to one page. If you try to get a 4th one on there, they just won't show the 4th one. But you don't want to push Google. They have the ultimate power. They can just cancel your account.
Yeah, and you do not want that. Another thing I would say is, purely from an aesthetic standpoint, and think about your own experience here. If you go to a site and it has 85 ads on the page, you just sort of naturally credit the site less. So I think it's really 3, which it sounds like Google is going to force you to do anyway, is probably a good number for any one page. You don't want to feel spammy. You don't want to feel like the only reason people are there so that you will get money from them clicking on the ads. And part of that becomes you have to create content that drives people there. But at the same time, just having that aesthetic, having that idea in mind of, when you go to a site, how many ads are too many ads for you? And then go to the lowest common denominator, because you want to scare the fewest number of people away with ads while still retaining, some capacity to make money.
Yeah. No, I agree.
And the other thing I would say is that once you have an AdSense account, you can use it on your own site, but sometimes, and this is majorly for those of you who are writers or who maybe contribute to a site, usually the site owner controls all of the AdSense on the site. But they can track where their views come from, or where their clicks come from, where their money comes from.
Yeah.
So if you're going to be negotiating with the owner of a website and you're going to be writing content for them, you probably want to work out some sort of deal where part of the money that you generate from clicks to your page or your article, or that essentially generated from your content, is paid to you.
You had mentioned earlier today when we were kind of just generally discussing this, that you asked me is it possible to display multiple ads on one page, and initially I had said, well no, but you actually can. Let me go back on what I said before. There's plugins and there's things that will allow you to do it, but it's not always a simple solution. A lot of times, like now I'm thinking of WordPress. I know of a plugin that allows you to sort of display your own ads there. What it does is, I think it says like 50% of the time it displays the owner's ads, 50% of the time it displays your ads. So yeah, you can do it. You just would have to have an agreement with the blog owner, and they would have to do it for you. It's not like you include the code in your post. It would be more along the lines of, in the back end, they would go into plugin settings for your particular post, and then they can manually set the percentage that each person's ad gets displayed. So in that sense, yes, you can get
right.
Yeah.
Right, and I think the main thrust here is that either way, you're going to end up, as a content creator or as a site owner who's going to have multiple authors besides themselves. You're going to have to come to some sort of agreement. And from the site owner perspective, it's a great way to entice people, especially if you don't have a lot of upfront money.
That's true.
Because you can go to someone and say, look, I can't pay you a salary, or I can't pay you per article, or I can pay you very little per article, but what I'll do is I'll give you 30% of whatever you generate, or 50% of whatever you generate from the article. Yeah. So it's a real easy way if you're starting out and you have a really interesting topic. It should probably just be you. But as you start to grow a little bit, you might find that you want to create content a little faster. You want to create more content, or maybe you know a lot about part A of what you do. In this case, let's say gardening. Let's say you're really good at planting flowers and sort of that sort of a garden, but you want to expand your site and you want to include someone who knows how to grow vegetables, or you want to include someone who knows a lot about shrubs or trees or something like that. You can go to someone that you know and say, Mary, I know your garden outside is great. You have the best tomatoes in the neighborhood. Would you be willing to write an article? And then you can sort of say, I can't give you a lot. I can give you $10 per article. But what I will do is I'll give you 30% of whatever is generated from your article. And you can track that on Google AdSense. I'll let Matt talk about that in a second. But I just think from both sides of the equation, and if you're someone that writes articles, you may want to say, hey, I know you pay me $100 per article, but I'd also like 10% of whatever I generate. And it's a great way also to be putting the money in the hands of the people who, from the site owner's perspective, who are generating the most for you, and from the content creator's perspective, to make sure that you're getting paid fairly if you're generating a lot of revenue and a lot of traffic.
That makes sense. I would say for the site owners, from the site owner's perspective, you can definitely track where your clicks are coming from, and really what it just says is it tells you which what URL or what web page the click came from. So it would be relatively easy just to see for a given month how many clicks came from Matt's post about shrubs, and then you could get paid accordingly by the person, or I guess like we mentioned, maybe you could either even convince them to have a plugin or access where you can just put your ad on the page. That could be possible as well. But yeah, it's definitely true that you can monetize things without having a site. That's interesting because a lot of people sometimes don't want to make their own sites or otherwise. So
yeah, and if you're writing part-time, it really doesn't necessarily make sense for you to deal with your own AdSense. You may just want to, say, hey, okay, well, and of course there's a certain amount of trust here.
Yeah.
There definitely is. You want to trust the person. But at the same time, it's a great way if you're just sort of doing it part-time.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah, so if you're looking at the Google AdSense backend, like after you log into their site, there's a lot of stuff on there. I really suggest that you just go ahead and play around with all the tabs, because I could sit here and explain everything to you, but a lot of it's just self-explanatory, and really you won't get it until you're looking at it and seeing how it happens. But I will say they have some pretty powerful reporting tools. You can see how many views you're getting, how many, remember we talked about impressions, or how many times your ads gets shown, and then how many clicks kind of spawned from that and stuff like that. So you can use that data if you want to be real hardcore about it. You can use that data to see kind of which ads work the best for you and which ads don't work for you, and you can just adjust your strategy accordingly. Everyone has a different thing that works for them. So
right, absolutely. And I think as a site owner, it's very useful. And you can also make one of these for YouTube, if I'm not utterly mistaken. But I think as a site owner, it's useful for you. It's really useful for tracking. I mean, you can really see, how many people are looking at your pages. And Google Analytics is good for that too. But we're going to talk about that in a different episode.
Yeah, Google Analytics is huge for just tracking the general traffic and flow to your content, and if you know how to analyze your Google Analytics data, you will go far. We'll talk about it later. Sorry.
Yeah, but it definitely is. So we'll definitely do a whole episode on that. But for this point, we will. It's just really useful when you're looking at the site to get an idea of where your money is coming from. Yeah, so we'll definitely make a whole separate podcast on Google Analytics. But what I want to say here is Google AdSense in and of itself, especially if you're not running multiple sites or whatever else you may have it's useful to see, track how your money's coming in. It pays you very easily, and it's just generally all around useful in the sense that if you do something on your website, it's easy to track and see if it's working or not. I think is one of the things.
Yeah.
So I think it's pretty easy to see, all right, I wrote this new article. All of a sudden I've had a bump in my revenue in the past 3 days. Or look at that. Every time I post a new page, I get a 3-day bump, in revenue that I'm making. So basically a 3-day bump in clicks. Or people are more likely to click, these banner ads on these pages than they are to click here. So it just lets you get more information about how well your site's performing.
Definitely. And I just have to give a word of caution to everyone, because I know, yes, I'm talking to you, everyone. I know the first thing you're going to do when you get this thing set up and you refresh your page and you realize, oh my God, the ads are finally working and they're on your page. Yeah, I know you're going to want to click on your own ad. Do it once, don't do it again, because Google tracks IP addresses. And I mean, unless, I guess technically if you want to go through different IP addresses, use proxies and stuff, you could kind of click on your ads multiple times, but even then you have to be wary to use an incognito browser that doesn't save cookies, because if they see that the same browser that clicked had the same cookies, they'll get you and they'll just cancel your account. They don't really give two craps. So
I mean, this is Google, and you are one person out of
so I know
many people.
You're going to want to do it, and maybe you can do it once. Nobody's going to care if you do it once, but don't do it more than once, or maybe once a year. But just be real careful. It's not worth having your entire AdSense account banned, because they ban your household, which is something that a lot of people don't know. For example, if I signed up at my parents' address, that was the address I put in. If I get banned from Google, anyone in the future that moves into my parents' house and tries to sign up with an AdSense account from that house will be banned. Right.
So the whole IP, basically.
Yeah. Well, not that they will be banned. Sorry, that they won't be able to register. They'll say you can't register. Your IP's been banned.
Right. So really, when we're saying if you really must, just for the satisfaction of clicking it once, click it once.
Actually, that was. Oh no.
But generally speaking, don't do that.
Yeah.
It will get you banned. It's not ethical. Just don't.
I have to clarify. I said your IP gets banned. It's your address that gets banned. So when you register with an address, it'll say your address is associated with a banned account. I said whatever. Sorry, the IP thing didn't actually make sense when I said it. It's actually your address that's banned.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Either way, don't. That's our bottom line. You really don't want to get 2 months into this and then be Google will be bye. Because you're just done at that point.
Yeah, you're just done. There's not much you can do besides signing up in your grandmom's name under her,
Yeah.
But all right, so let me just say this. I think we've about reached the end of our AdSense stuff. I do want to just wrap up by saying that AdSense is an incredibly powerful tool for bloggers and for website creators to use to monetize their site. It's probably the easiest way you can go, and it is very lucrative. The problem just becomes getting traffic to your site. We always talk about having more episodes, but we'll have one about how to drive traffic to your site, because that's arguably the most important part of any monetization scheme. But definitely look into AdSense. I would apply for an account. It's always good to have. You'll use it for projects, that you'll always use it for websites you make or projects you have. That being said, I'm sure that we missed stuff, so feel free to leave some comments below with your questions or concerns, or just praise for such an amazing and informative episode of Zero to Hero?
I like the praise.
I like
That sounds pretty good to me.
I think I might just log on and give praise just to.
That's true.
Yeah.
I usually thumbs us up, so I'll admit that now. I'm like, Grandma, can you thumbs us up? And then she doesn't know how to use YouTube.
See, guys, we won't have to do that if you just give us thumbs up.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. Save my grandmother the trouble of trying to figure out how to use YouTube. All right, it's a shameless ploy. I think that's all.
As always, give us a subscribe. Like we said, comment and check out our websites. Our Patreon accounts are up. Just give some of the links in the description a look, and I guess we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, peace.